Well, I think the biggest problem with most companies is they have adopted that corporate structure, and it becomes this top-down hierarchy of all these different networks of people who respond to other people in different dotted lines. And then ultimately, no matter what happens, that becomes a waterfall process, right? You pour water down the waterfall, it goes all the way down to the person that has to do the work at the frontline staff, and they report all the way back up. And that creates so many redundancies in both communication as well as company procedures that nothing ever gets done. You always hear that joke, if you want to get nothing done, form a committee, right? But nowadays, the companies that really understand it have gone away from the waterfall process into agile models. And there's a lot of different ones of them, but they have everything in common with one fact is that there's different loops that run parallel to each other. So instead of having one person go to the next person, to the next person, to the next person, you have several people doing things in tandem, all responsible for their own area of expertise, and then they funnel into the same hub. They have the same type of feedback with the same type of authority so that everything can be done side by side. So instead of having a factory of somebody puts on a certain part of the piece and then somebody puts a label on it and then somebody packages it, a lot of this stuff gets done at the same time. Up to speed, better communication all the way around. Especially with millennials, right? Like you said, we want something now. Right? And that fits right into our culture because we want to have something that's transparent. We want something that's open that we can give them input and they can give us feedback right away. And it works really quickly because millennials aren't going to sit on something and sit on something and sit on something before they make those decisions. They basically have an instinct of what they want right away. And so I think what the advantage is when you get into an agile process is you give more value to the reason why millennials are doing what they're doing in their job. It brings both purpose and engagement. And then from there, you have this positive feedback loop intrinsically of, wow, I'm being fulfilled in what I'm doing and I'm a part of it rather than just a cog in the wheel. And then what happens is now you have a negative problem, right? Now you have an entire generation of people saying, I told you that idea 6 months ago, 12 months ago, 18 months ago. And then you lose a lot of trust because those same people who generated those ideas won't get credit for it. Somebody else will. And this pool of wonderful, energetic talent starts to get damped down. And I think that's kind of the big shame with the larger organizations that have yet to adopt an agile process is they are going to lose a lot of talent when they very well could have fed it, groomed it, growed it, and just made transformative change. Why go through that, right? Why go through that process of losing huge chunks of human capital? Instead, why not make the small incremental changes that will create not just engagement, but retention, right? Then not only have you engaged an audience, engaged your employees, your biggest asset in an organization, that organization will now grow in its behavioral values, right? Its organizational behavior and culture. And then from there, it just buds out, right? It buds out because now the people that have been there that are invested become the future leaders and so on and so forth.